There you go. So I can just switch it up with this, right? Oh, it has to be done with this one. Okay. And is it recording right now, or it's recording right now, right? All right. So we will move on to the next part of today's presentation, which is mine. As soon as everybody's quiet. Kyle. Okay. Anyway, so I'm Xavier. This is my presentation. Mine is going to be really quick. It's going to be adding on to language and what Bithya and her group have been talking about. Mine takes a more ethical approach to the entire thing. More so than theirs, where theirs is talking about politicians and historical aspects of it. This is more of today's use, how we see language as a form of as a form of leveling people's humanities in a way. So, in terms of how well they can speak or whether we can take them seriously or not. So as we move on. So as I said, this is what I'm going to be talking about. You don't really need to pay attention to this. And I also just kind of want to point out like how language is to be appreciated and how developed it is to a point where it is actually our most valuable commodity, that it is our most valuable accomplishment as a human species. So my problem knowledge here is, to what extent is our worth as human beings tied to our dialectical capabilities or language in social context? In other words, if that's a little bit too difficult to understand, it's do we begin to disregard those with coherent or difficult to understand and treat them as less human? So those who are incapable of certain aspects of speech, do we treat them as less human than we do? If, for example, I'm up here and I'm speaking to all of you, you all understand me, therefore I'm human, right? What if somebody else was somebody else who could not speak in as well as I could right now, or somebody who spoke in a different language? Do you pay less attention to them? Do you not care anymore? How does that work out? So, just a quick thought on language's intricacy and how it works in terms of our sense perception is that from a young age we're taught language, letters, words, how they work together, how they sound together, how they're placed together, everything that has to do with that, and it all adds up to a point where it all just works, to a point where we don't really know we don't really know how sentences or language works. It just sounds correct when it is correct. So whenever we put a sentence together, we just listen to it, and it's to a point where it actually it sounds correct. It's like a mathematical equation. You do it correctly in a certain way, you get an end result, you elicit an emotion from it. And that's how it works. So I have just a mini example here real quick. If you read these sentences and just think for yourself for a couple of seconds here, think about which of these sentences sounds the most correct. So you can go ahead and think about that. Talk about it if you want. So. I don't have any candy to hand out, but it's like I'd still like an answer, maybe at least one or two. So if anybody has any ideas of like what sounds to be the most correct out of all these, what say you? All right, Natalia.
B, because it's the most concise.
All right, Logan.
I thought B is more because it just more coherent
Yeah. So, of course, all of these sentences are actually correct. It's just the context in which they're written, or the person who's writing them, that makes them more effective in certain ways. But no matter how you look at it, all these sentences work. They just do, because our language has built up to a point where we can understand these sentences. So, my first real life example is autism and certain mental disabilities that can inhibit one's ability to speech, one's capability to talk to others in social contexts more effectively. So it just poses some questions here. Like, if one talks in a constant stutter, do we tend to take them less seriously? If one cannot speak and they are mute, do we begin to disregard them as a person, or do we not have the time to even bother paying attention to them? As I mentioned earlier in the presentation here, that we're all capable of speech, but what if one of us were suddenly unable to speak? What would happen to that person? Would we begin to put them off to the side because we can't find much of a use for them anymore? So just think about it. These were the questions that I just asked. Do we want to help them? Because there are actually technologies that allow us to help them. For example, Stephen Hawking, he's paralyzed in the mouth, but he can still speak using certain types of technology. We can help him out with that. But do we want to go through all the effort to actually find out ways to help these people, or to figure out what they want to try and convey through their speech? This is more of a just think about it. This isn't so much of a question, mostly just to save time, but this is just kind of a think about it, bring it up, let it sink in a bit, so I can move on to the next real-life example that I have set up real quick. So this has to do with learning new languages, as I was saying before. So if you were to be learning a new language, as most of us here are aware of, in Spanish, Miss Cullen or whoever we have for our Spanish or foreign language class, we know that if we were dumped into the middle of wherever that language most resides, we would not be very well prepared. We all know this because there are just so many specifications to language for each and every single language in the world that, like the others were saying, that one thing could mean another. So, and it could earn some very, very nasty looks from the native speakers of that language. So, a question that I actually have for you guys is the idea of the mildly racist. I don't know. This is actually the question. If it's either racist, not racist, or if it's mildly racist. The idea of learn the language if you're going to live here ideology that many people have in their own home countries when immigrants are coming in. For example, America is one of the biggest ones for Mexican immigrants coming in who don't know how to speak English, and people will tell them, if you're going to be here, learn the language. So my question is, does anybody think that this is, racist, not racist, totally racist, mildly racist? Anybody have any ideas? Or what is your personal view on that exactly, if you speak? Yes.
I think it's pretty racist. I think they're playing pretty hard to learn. It's going to take time. You're going to pick up definitely some stuff as you are surrounded by English all the time. But a lot of people can't take the time to still have big formal classes and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, that really goes with the whole white racism thing, like, this is language and you're learning to succeed. But at the same time, if you're in the place where the common language is English, it's a lot easier to communicate with others if you speak the same language.
It's gonna sound like totally racist, but if you're gonna come here, on your own free will, I feel like you should know English, because all of us are not known to know Spanish, or not to be rude, but we're not. So technically, if you're gonna come to where we speak English, I feel like you should know a fraction of the language. So at least you can get some type of reason issues or something like that.
I think it's completely racist because most people coming to America, especially from areas like that, are coming for opportunity and to, come and get money and earn money, but they won't have time to go to classes and learn the language if they're coming here to just start and get money. Obviously, you need to learn some of the rudimentary words to get around and some of commands and such. But to say that someone needs to learn your language because they're entering a free state, a free country, is completely racist.
All right, Troy. Your hand was raised, yeah?
Yeah, it was.
Your arm's getting pretty tired. Sorry. Sorry, your arm's getting tired. It's all right.
I think it really depends on the situation. If you're hiring someone, then you want them to learn the language. And if they're not going to put in the effort to fit in with the society around them, then they can't really be hired. But if it's in a situation where you just need a person to tell them to learn the language, just to learn the language, then that would be highly racist.
All right, yeah, that's good. All right.
to kind of learn the language, or what do I have to do? And so I think, I don't know if it's racist, but I think it would make their life easier if they learned it, and it would make the people living here life easier and to communicate with them. But
Well, in addition to a decline, if you come here for opportunities, it would be way easier to get a job if you're bilingual.
Yeah. All right. Good. All right. Sweet. So I think, because I was on such a tight time constraint, I didn't know how long this was going to be. So I pretty much have ended it there. In conclusion, as I said, that language is, in a way, it's a gateway into becoming a full human being in some cases, where if you're incapable of speech, you're incapable of certain social capabilities. And if you are capable of speech, then you're completely able to understand what people are trying to get at. You're able to integrate more fluidly into society's context and such. So that's pretty much it on that fact. Now, with the time I have, because I didn't want to put this in the beginning of the entire presentation, I do have a little activity, but I have to explain it very quickly. It's a simulation of sorts, if you will. So I've invented a game, and it's called Insanity, and Jared knows what's up because I've played this game with him. So he can help explain it to some people. But here's what's going to happen. We're going to split into groups of 3, or maybe 4, I'm not entirely sure. But if we can split into groups of 3 like as quickly as possible, that would be great. What's going to happen is 2 of the people are going to learn how to play the game Insanity, all right? One person is going to be chosen to stand outside for a moment, all right? So we're going to be real fast about this. So if we, quickly choose, like, give yourself like 30 seconds, choose quickly. Huh? I hope so. We're going to find out. This is my creation, so I mean, like, I want to share it. Okay, we're good? Have we chosen our people to leave? All right. Okay, so, yeah, you can explain the rules to them there. So I'm going to explain it to everybody listen to him, all right, on that side of the table. All right, so here's how the rules of the game work, all right? So I'm going to give you a sentence. It's going to be a completely random sentence. It's going to include one specific word, at least one specific word. It's going to be a noun, a pronoun, or not a pronoun. Noun, adjective, verb, all right? Those are the words. Those are the specific words. So I'm going to tell you a sentence, say, for example, the cow was wearing trousers. All right, you take that sentence. Let's say, I'm going to play with you right now, all right? I'll play the game with you. All right, the cow was wearing trousers. You're going to take that sentence. You can take one of those words that I just told you, and you're going to put it into another sentence. It could be any sentence you want. Any sentence you want.
Trousers wearing a cat.
Huh? See, boom, there, done. Trousers wearing cat, all right? That doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't matter. It works, all right? You can say that. Now, cat. You have to include a new word every time you make a sentence. So cat was the new word. So I have to use cat now, all right? So the cat's in the sky, all right? Sky. One of you guys has to use sky. You get what I'm saying here? You go back and forth. You choose the specific words. You don't choose pronouns, conjunctions. You don't choose like meaningless words like those. You choose the adjectives, the verbs, and the nouns. You understand what I'm saying? So do that with your teammates right now. Just kind of like, just practice a bit while I talk to these guys. Do you guys get that? All right, cool. So, all right, here's the deal with you guys. All right.
You're the worst at this game. I dyed my hair brown. That's not any of the words that I used, Jordan.
Okay, the people that are coming in, they're going to try and get in on your conversation. I haven't told them any of the rules. They're just going to be listening. They're going to try and get in. If they're not playing the game correctly by the rules, give them a nasty look.
Yes. Wait, Jordan, you can't
All right,
say
you're good.
this. Okay, keep it.
Yeah, so
My cat was eating my dog. The street. The street was off to the right of the
The church was to the left of my house.
My house was on fire.
The school was on fire.
I hate coming at 6:30 in the morning to school.
In the morning, it is too early to wake up.
I wake up and I take a shower. My tea is too hot in the morning.
Oh my gosh.